If you've ever went to a filament website and thought, why are there so many choices and which one am I supposed to buy? Well, this video is for you. There's PLA, PETG, ABS, so many different choices for beginners. And a lot of times you're being told you need to upgrade your filament. But what does that even mean? Today I'm breaking down what each filament is actually good for, which one you should start off with, and which ones you can ignore entirely for now. This video is a part of my beginner 3D printing basics series where I explain things the way that I wish they had been explained to me when I started. We're not going into spec overload or unnecessary items, just the basics to get you started on the right foot. Welcome back to Design and Forge Studios Print to Profit. My name is Ashley. Let's get into it. Let's start with PLA because this is where most people should and will begin. So why is PLA beginner friendly? Well, it prints at a low temperature, it has excellent bed adhesion, it has minimal warping, you don't need an enclosure on your printer to print with PLA, and it's pretty easy to troubleshoot. PLA gets a bad reputation for being basic, but it's actually really forgiving, reliable, and perfect for learning. So, what are the best uses for PLA? You can use it for decor items, toys, signs, as long as they're indoor signs and not outdoor signs. Organization, a ton of different custom products that maybe you're going to use around your house or even make for others. Keychains, name signs, wall art, there's so many different possibilities that you can use PLA for, and it also happens to be the most cost efficient. If you're printing anything for indoors, PLA is the easiest and the least stressful option for you. The majority of the color options that I offer are PLA. So don't feel like you aren't doing good enough if you're working just with PLA. The next option from there is PETG or PETG. This is kind of the middle ground option. And when I say that is it's only because it's the next recommended step after PLA typically, but it's not necessarily easier to work with. What is it that PETG does well? It's a little bit stronger than PLA. It has a slight flexibility to it, and it's better for heat resistance and outdoors. So for me personally, when I'm printing birdhouses, I print them in PETG because I don't have enclosed printers to print with other types of filaments. So PETG is my go-to for outdoor whenever I'm printing anything that I need for that environment. Now, what are some challenges though you might have with PETG as a beginner? Well, stringing is probably the number one thing that you're going to see, and that's where your print will have little bits that kind of string off of it while it's being printed or even after it's done that you have to clean up. Thankfully, stringing is super easy to fix. Just get yourself a little mini torch and you can hit your item with that mini torch really quickly when the print is done, and it will totally take away all those little stringy bits and it will look nice and clean. A really quick way to prevent that stringing, and in my opinion, a must for anybody who's printing with PETG, is to have one of these filament dryer boxes. I use an eSun box. I will link it in the description of this video. But every time I get a brand new roll of PETG, I pop it in the box. I let it dry for anywhere from 18 to 24 hours, and then I will start printing with it. If I ever print anything with PETG before drying it, I always get stringing, and half the time I end up with adhesion problems too. So save yourself that headache and get yourself a drying box. Another challenge people can have with PETG is if you have too strong of bed adhesion afterwards, it can actually remove part of your build plate or remove that first layer from your print. And finally, it will have less forgiving settings when it comes to PETG. So make sure that if this is something you're going to work with in the long run, be sure to really dial in those settings and focus on getting that good first layer so that everything else can build up from that nicely. PETG certainly isn't bad, it can just require more tuning, which can be frustrating early on. The final filament we're going to talk about today is one where a lot of beginners can actually run into problems, and that is with ABS. ABS can cause a lot of people to think that their printer is broken, but it's not the printer, it's just figuring out your settings. ABS does require a higher print temperature and therefore an enclosed printer. With the enclosed printer, you're going to be able to control the temperature environment inside of that printer and make it optimum for ABS. This gives the stable environment that it needs. But with that, you also need good ventilation. So make sure that you have something that's going to help ventilate the air in your room. If you're in a small space like me with no windows, maybe that means that you need to get yourself a small purifier just to be on the safe side. Common issues that you can have with ABS are that it can warp, it can crack, or your layers can separate. So again, it's just a matter of making sure that you're using the right filament for the right product and having those settings dialed in. Unless you specifically know that you need ABS for a reason, it's usually not worth the frustration when you're starting out. So, what is a beginner friendly answer to which filament should you use? Start with PLA. Only switch to PETG if you need a little bit more durability, or again, if you need it for outside. And skip ABS altogether until you know exactly why you need it. You will not grow as a maker or within building your business if you're constantly fighting your materials. So grow your confidence first by working with just one filament, get everything dialed in with that. And then when you know you need another option, step out of that comfort zone and work with one other type of filament at a time before progressing on to others. Some of the biggest beginner filament mistakes that people are going to make are buying those advanced filaments too early, when you either A, don't know what you're going to use them for, B, don't know exactly how to use them. Another is switching materials instead of actually fixing your settings. It could be something with bed adhesion or the temperature. So make sure that you know all the different settings for that material that you're going to work with. And finally, just assuming that stronger is better. PETG might not be the best material to use for a product, and perhaps PLA would be a better option for you, or vice versa. Most print failures aren't actually filament problems, it's just learning curve problems. So if you're brand new, start simple and build from there. Drop a comment below and tell me, what filament is it that you're using right now? Have you gone on and tried to use ABS and had some problems and you've come back? Or are you thinking about now trying out a different one? Let me know how that goes for you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe so that you can follow along in the rest of this beginner series while I walk you through and hold your hand the way that I wish somebody had for me when I started my 3D printing business just over a year ago. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy printing!